Hey guys, gals, and otherworldly pals. So today we're going to be doing something a little different. And as the title says, I'm going to be reviewing the popular web series Hellva. Now before we get started, I just want to say, as always, I own none of this. This is just a review for the shits and giggles. I really need to find a new buffer word. Now, recently I did sit down and I binged all of season 1 and 2, and I absolutely love this show. It's silly, sometimes stupid, but I think it has a very real way of handling very heavy topics. And that was a dog. But today I'm only going to be reviewing season 1. Going to be doing season 2 sometime in the future. I can't guarantee it's going to be my next review video, but I will be reviewing it eventually. But this show, it takes place in hell, and the very first episode we are introduced to IMP, which is an assassin's guild basically, and it's run by imps. And the motley crew that we follow throughout the show, their leader is Blitz. The O is silent. His name is really Blitzo, but like every episode that someone calls him Blitzo, he just goes off on this like hysterical, like angry tangent about how the O is silent now. My brain died. There's his daughter, the Hellhound Luna, and his two main assassins, the imps Moxie and Millie, who are happily married. It irritates me a little bit that Moxie and Millie sound like very similar in names, and their husband and wife. I kind of wished their names were a bit different, but that's like a little gripe. I wish their names were different, because you have Blitz and then you have all these other like really out there names, and it felt almost like lazy to name the only like monogamous couple in the entire show Moxie and Millie. Blech. Okay, so they're not the only monogamous couple in the entire show. I'm going to correct myself there. But like they're the main ones that we follow. Now, they live and work in the Pride Ring of Hell, where all the sinners who died on Earth live. And thanks to a magical book, we'll get more into that book a little bit later, but right now we're just talking about episode 1. But they have a magical book that lets them teleport to Earth, where they go and they kill people that they're paid to kill by the people who are damned to hell in the Pride Ring. Very interesting topic. I will say it's kind of explored in the first couple episodes of the show, but really past that, it's just kind of there as a plot piece, and we don't really see too much of them actually doing their job. I wish it could have been explored more, but I kind of get it with the overarching plot that they had going in season 1 and in season 2. Like I said, it feels lazy, like she was going to do more with this. Like Vitsy Pop, the person who created this whole show, was going to do more with it, and then they just didn't. It irritates me just a little bit. I hate when there's things that could be explored and then they're not. Like, I'm kind of hoping in season 3 that we get to see more of it, but I don't think we will, just because of the overarching plot. Now, another important character that we do meet in the pilot episode 1, is the Goetia Prince, and he's a owl man, and his name is Stolas. Stolas is one of my favorite characters. I love this dude. He's just crazy British, like, nobility, but fabulous. He'd be fabulous. It's hilarious. Now, he made a deal with Blitz that if they do the Devil's Tango every full moon, Blitz can use his book to travel to do all the work he wants on Earth. See, that's where the book comes in. Now, the plot of this first episode just basically introduces you to all this information, and it sets up the dynamics between all the guys, which I have to say is hilarious because Liz is just weird and doesn't give a fuck really about anything or anyone. At least that's how he's portrayed. You get more into... He does like a lot of character growth throughout the show, which I really love. But when you're first introduced to him, he really just doesn't give a fuck. And Luna is like the goth girl who just... She loves to bully Moxie, who has like the anxiety levels of a chihuahua. Okay, this dude is like always... There's always something sending him into a panic attack, and Luna just loves to poke it. And Millie just tries to like keep the peace. She's like the bubbly sunshine character, but like you insult her husband and she becomes like this feral imp demon. I love these characters and their growth. But the next episode 1, the official episode 1. I know I've been saying episode 1 this whole time, but it's really just a pilot. Episode 1, it's just filler to reinforce all these things I just talked about. There's a dog again. Episode 2 is when we start really beginning to see the overarching plot of the show, and we meet Stolas' wife, Stella. Spoiler alert, she's a bitch. She's also a bird. All the Goetias are birds. They're different birds. I'm not going to go into it. You can find like thousands of videos on YouTube about the themes, or not the themes, I can't think of it. The little details about all these guys, but they're all birds, and Stella's just a bitch. I'm just putting it out there. She has no character arc. She's a one-dimensional character to just be there to be a bitch and have Stolas have a reason why he hates his life. That's really it. But he also has his daughter Octavia, and we also get the first real banger song. Like, there's a lot of songs in this whole show. Like, Vitsy Pop is very much a musical theater girly. Like, she has another show called Has Been Hotel, which is on... Pretty sure you can watch it on Amazon Prime. Yeah, Amazon Prime. But she loves music. Hellva Boss, Has Been Hotel... They all have songs. This show also has a lot of songs. I don't really like most of them. I'm going to be honest. I don't like most of them. Most of them truly just feel like she wanted a song in the episode, so she did everything she could to have a song in the episode. And they weren't really great songs, but this song really just like, it has that almost like a David Bowie, like 80s heartbreak anthem, and Stolas sings it to his little Fia, which is what he calls Octavia, about how basically no matter what happens to him, she's gonna be okay, and he's gonna make sure that she's okay. And let me just say, if you never actually watched this show, you need to find this song and you need to listen to it, because I could gush about this song for ages. It's just a good song. Like, I have it on my own playlist and I listen to it all the time. But when the song ends, Octavia is woken up rather rudely by her mother and father by her mother screaming at her dad because she caught him and Blitz having an affair. And like, this whole thing is gone back to time and time again throughout the whole show. But she's yelling at him about how he was cheating on her, and he wasn't even cheating on her with someone good. He was cheating on her with the help, because the imps are considered like the lowest of the low in the hierarchy of hell. They're considered just like the muscle. They're just there to do all the dirty jobs, basically. And my brain died. Octavia, at this point in the show, she's a teenager. I do believe she's 17 years old. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure she's 17 years old. She's not old enough to be considered an adult yet in hell. And she is like fully in her emo phase, and she like hates the world and all this stuff. And like, don't even blame her, because when she wakes up to hearing the screaming and the fighting, it's not even in that kind of like shocked way. It's in that numb, like, this has happened a lot. Like, she's used to seeing her parents in like this really unhealthy, toxic marriage, and she's just kind of stuck in the middle of it. And this states the stage for future that she's really just stuck in the middle of it all. Now, after they get done fighting and Octavia's just trying to eat her breakfast, Stolas tries to reconnect with his daughter and maybe just get them both out of the house and away from Stella, because she, like, even when she walks off screen, you can hear her screaming and breaking things in the background. So he decides that he's going to call up Blitz, and he's going to get him to protect them so that they could go to Lululand, because that used to be Octavia's favorite place in the world when she was little. And we get to see the first ring of hell outside of Pride, and it's the Greed, which sounds like the perfect place for a theme park, honestly, because I can't really think of too many places that just scream greediness like a theme park does. Just look at Disneyland. Don't copyright me. Now, they do get up to some shenanigans in the show with Moxie and Millie's marriage. Stolas being oblivious to the fact that Octavia is disdain for the whole situation, and he's trying to do the devil's tango again with Blitz. We also meet a robot Fizzarali. Just remember that name. It will be important in the future, but for right now, he's not all that important. Now, while all this is going on, I'm not really going to get into what Moxie and Millie are doing this entire time, because honestly, it was boring. It was not important. It didn't really like do anything to show their relationship. I forgot what I was saying. But after all these shenanigans are going on, near the end of the episode, Octavia just runs off. She's had it. She's had enough of her dad trying to force her back to being this happy little girl that she used to be while trying to get in Blitz's pants. And Blitz doesn't follow. Blitz gets distracted by RoboFizz, and they get into a fight, which ends up destroying the whole park. And the circus inside the park, which sets on fire. Now, this is heavy foreshadowing for things that you find out. I'm pretty sure more so in season 2 than in season 1. You really get to know a lot of things in season 2 versus season 1. Just gonna. Now, back with the father and daughter duo, which is the main premise of this episode. They really have a real heart-to-heart, and Octavia opens up about how she misses when she was a child and her parents didn't fight all the time and her home felt like a real home. But now it doesn't. Her parents fight every day and she has to watch her dad flirt with, and this is a direct quote, a little red weirdo. And she really blames her dad for all of it. And Stolas really struggles with opening up to her about his feelings, about just everything. And it's very obvious if you watch the episode where he stops each time that he tries to open up, that he never loved Stella, that it was an arranged marriage, and he's never been happy. But all this just causes Octavia to break down, and her real fear comes out, and she asks if her dad will run off with Blitz one day and leave her behind and never see her again. And let me just say, this whole thing hits you in the feelings like super hard. But Stolas sees what she needs, and he promises her that he will never leave her. And it just shows how much he loves his daughter. And like, they have this really cool, like almost like action movie scene where Stolas is just walking out of the park and he's holding Octavia, and the whole theme park behind him is just exploding in green fire. It's like super, super cool. But we end the episode with the father-daughter relationship restored, kinda, for the moment. Like I said at the beginning of this, the show has a really good way of handling serious topics in a real way. And anyone who's been alive will tell you that, like, just having one heart-to-heart doesn't fix a situation. Especially, like, if you're still doing the things that are going to cause those same insecurities to pop up. And they have another father-daughter episode in season 2. But that, we'll talk about that one later. I'm not really going to go into season 3. That's not even out yet. Episode 3, because it's just another setup for the future where we hear about Blitz's sister. He meets his ex-girlfriend who's a succubus. Her name is Verosica Mayday. She has a hellhound bodyguard named Vortex. We hear about his girlfriend, and it's basically just to show that Luna is going through her own struggles with Blitz. And it was about them finding that safe space to really, for Blitz to give her the space that Luna needed to get adjusted to actually having a parent who actually does care about her. Because when she was, I do believe she's 18 canonically in the show while this is going on. And Blitz adopted her when she was 17. So she, at this point, she's gone her whole life in the foster care system with no parents, and then one day this random dude who likes horses and screams a lot adopts her as a dad. So it was just them trying to find this balance, because Blitz, he loves Luna, and Luna just needed to get that chance. Episode 4, I hated episode 4. We basically meet these 3 cherubs who are like heaven's equivalent to IMP, but they get into a fight with IMP, people die, they get kicked out of heaven. These guys, even in season 2, these guys never become important. I hate them. I hated the episode. It was boring. It had no substance to it. Even when I rewatched the show, I skip that episode. Now, in episode 5, we travel to the Wrath Ring for the Harvest Moon Festival. There we meet Millie's family, and we find out that she grew up on a ranch, and that her family does not like Moxie because he's soft and squishy and not all manly. Yeah. I really just don't care about Moxie and Millie's relationship. There's like no growth, no anything to it. Even in this episode, they end up fighting this cowboy dude named Stryker, who, let me just say, for all you dark romance girlies, he's your type. You're welcome. Even I think he's kind of hot. Yeah, but we meet Stryker. He becomes way more important later on in both season 1 and season 2. But Moxie wins his in-laws' approvals. Blitz gets a crush on Stryker. It doesn't work out. The episode was meh. The episode had a song in it too, but it was one of those moments where it felt like Vitzi just had to have a song, and so she just kind of shoved it in, and it's not even a good song. It's really not a good song. But at like the very end of the episode, we find out that Stryker's an assassin who was hired to kill Stolas. The gang fight him. They save Stolas. Stolas has no idea that his life was even in danger, but he runs off. And then very last scene of the show, it's him talking on the phone to Stella, and we find out that she hired him to kill Stolas. And that's it. That was the end of the episode. It's one of those things that, like, she sets it up like it's not all that important. Like, oh yeah, crazy bitch wife wants to kill her husband because he's having an affair. But it totally becomes something much bigger later on. Episode 6 is one of my favorites in, like, the whole show. Like, I love this episode. It's such a great episode. We find out that our motley gang have been getting watched by a government agency. It's alluded that it's a American government agency. Doesn't really say which one. I think it does. I think the acronym for them was dweebs or something really stupid. I never paid attention to that part. I'm not even gonna lie, because I think every time I saw it, I went, huh, that way to hit it home that they are just stupid. Where was I? But they've been getting watched by them. They're trying to stop them. And as they finish a job, and the group is trying to jump back through the portal back to hell, they're being their usual loud, stupid selves. And in the process, Moxie and Blitz get captured. And Luna and Millie are running in to rescue them. Now, while being captured, they get hit with a shit ton of truth gas that sends them on like the worst acid trip into their own subconsciousness. And Moxie like has this whole like classical music, almost like a Phantom of the Opera musical number with Blitz in his subconscious, where he basically works out his feelings of looking up to Blitz, but is constantly being hurt by him because just what Blitz does. Now, Blitz's trip is like really dark, and it really like starts showing you that underneath it all, even though Blitz appears on the surface like he really just doesn't give a fuck about anybody, he very deeply loves everybody who is in his life, but he's afraid that they're going to leave him and abandon him someday. So, in order to protect himself, he purposely hurts them and pushes them away so that he could be the one that leaves first to avoid being hurt by them leaving him. Now, when they come out of their really bad trip, they have a heart-to-heart moment, and Moxie confesses that he really does look up to Blitz, and Blitz admits that he's extremely hard on him because Moxie cares way too much about everyone's opinions. And he just wants him to succeed. He knows that Moxie can do the job. He knows that he can do it really well if he just stops having the anxiety levels of a chihuahua. Now, after they have this whole moment, all hell breaks loose. Millie and Luna break in, and then they are surrounded by secret agents. Now, I just gotta say, this show is filled with violence and people dying everywhere. You just kind of get desensitized to it. But this is by far my favorite fight scene in the whole show because they're like all working together and they're just massacring these dudes while Blitz is popping in and out everywhere, passing out weapons and water, and he even takes a selfie with a decapitated head. It's a whole thing. I love it. At one point, he runs over and hugs Luna, and he tells her he's so proud of her, and eventually he just goes wild. He just, I could gush for hours about this scene. This is like truly the best fight scene in like all of the show. I wish we had more like it. Now, eventually, they run out of weapons. They try to hightail it out of there. But the last two remaining agents, the main ones, the ones that captured them, was interrogating them, the whole thing, they press the big red button. Literally, it's a big red button, and it's labeled the big red button. Locking the place down and turning on those dark red flashing lights you usually see in like zombie films before shit starts going bad. And the gang are trapped. The agents close in. Because of the lights, Luna can't read the spell in the book to open the portal and get them out. And then shit just gets like demonic. I don't know how else to describe it, but Solus makes an entrance worthy of a demon prince with demonic voices, possessions of dead and living bodies, a pentagram drawn in blood, even a badass black demonic bird monster thing that turns into our lovable owl man Stolas. And after he gets done making the two living humans shit themselves, literally, because he pulled the full demon act. It was so cool. Like, I love this episode so much. He goes over, he has a loving moment, and he lets Blitz know that he's basically always watching him and checking over him, making sure that he's okay, that he's not getting in trouble. And then gets super angry, foreshadowing that what they're all doing is extremely illegal, according to Hell's laws, and could get them all in big trouble if they're caught. And the episode ends with the agents having all the evidence needed to prove demons are real. And I'm going to be honest, this plot point is useless. You see these guys like 2 more times, and they are just for minor movement of the plot, not like anything big like it would imply. I think this is just one of those like portaling to Earth things. It's just there for the plot progression. I feel like there were so many other things that they could have done for the future episodes that these are used in, along with the portal. It's just really lazy, and I just it irritates me. Now, episode episode 7 is labeled the finale of the season, but episode 8 is really the last episode. I don't know why this was done the way it was, because if you don't watch both, you'll miss important stuff, and I really hate when this is done. I'm just gonna gripe for a second. If it's the final episode of a season, then it's the final episode of the season. The next season that comes afterwards should be the first episode of the next season. Instead, you have the final episode and then the final episode. Like, she has bonus episodes for season 2, but those are labeled bonus episodes. And they have nothing to do with the plot. Episode 8, which should have been labeled the final episode, has so much to do with the plot. But it's not the finale. Episode 7 is the finale. It's super irritating. But episode 7, it opens up with us finding out that Millie and Moxie's anniversary, it's their 1-year anniversary, and they are going to Ozzy's bar in the Lust Ring. And Blitz wants to come with, and they are adamant that he is not invited. And in typical Blitz fashion, he stalks them. It's implied throughout the entire show that his favorite pastime outside of work is stalking these two. Why? I don't know. Blitz just does what Blitz does. But that backfires because only couples are allowed in the club. So he calls Stolas, who is sitting at home alone, eating his food on the couch and watching novellas like every sad single person. Because at this point, I don't remember which episode, and I left it out of my notes. I should have put it in my notes, and I apologize. Him and Stella are working on getting a divorce. They're not going through the process yet. They're not divorced yet, but Stolas has said that he wanted divorce. So Stella usually leaves the house every weekend with Octavia. So he's sitting at home. He's eating his cereal on the couch. He's watching his novellas. And he gets super excited when Blitz calls, thinking that this is their first official date. Not just that Blitz is using him. This, kiddos, is why you always have clear communication with your partners, because the whole time Stolas is trying to make this a date and Blitz is just spying on the M&Ms. Stolas really wants this whole relationship to be more, but Blitz sees it as the way it was started, as a business transaction, because there's no clear communication. He gets both lucky and unlucky when the show starts, and the real Fizz comes out on stage, and joining him is the demon lord Osmodeus. Osmodeus? Yeah. Now, a big part of this episode is a musical number, and I feel like everything that went on in this could have been done without the musical number, because there's parts of it that are okay, parts of it that I hate, and it basically just shows that publicly, I'm going to say publicly, a bit of a spoiler for season 2, honestly, but publicly, Fizz and Ozzy are in a relationship. They're allergic to feelings and love, and they make fun of Moxie for trying to sing a love serenade to his wife. Blitz speaks up to try to defend them, and basically gets called an asshole by everybody in the club. Oh, by the way, Veronica is back. She's at the club, and she joins in to call him a dick because she's always there when Blitz needs to be called a dick. Stolas gets called out for sleeping with the help and ruining his marriage. And I even have it in my notes where I say I love musicals, but this one just feels like it's there for the sake of it. I cannot stand just throwing things in there that really didn't need to be in there. But once that's all over, Blitz and Stolas' relationship really starts actually showing its cracks, because Blitz drives him home, and when he gets there, anyways, I don't know what just happened. My brain died. Blitz drives Stolas home. Stolas tries to invite him in so that they can talk and cuddle and things you would normally do after a date, or when you see that your partner's having a hard time. And Blitz just says, basically, we're not in that kind of relationship, and I know that you're using me, and I don't want to be used tonight. So he drives home. He goes home. He finds out that Luna's not there, and so he just plops down on his couch and he starts scrolling through his phone. And we see pictures of him with Stolas and the gang and with his ex, Veronica. There's one with Fizz when they're much younger. I'm going to guess and say teenagers or even preteens. And then finally, he scrolls to one last one that, in the context of the information that we have in season 1, just in season 1, we can assume is his mother and his sister and him when he's just a small child. But the episode ends with that, with him seeing that picture, curling up and crying himself to sleep. Now, when we go to the actual final episode of the season, I'm sticking to this. Episode 8 is the real finale. When we get to that episode, it starts off with Luna sitting nervously in a car. She's all dressed up, looking cute, and she gets a call from Blitz. Now, Blitz calls her very early at the beginning of episode 7 to tell her that he's going to be home late, and he gets sent to voicemail. He leaves the voicemail, and this episode starts with that call, and she ignores it. It goes to voicemail. This episode is another one of my favorite episodes. It's really great. She goes into the party. She is invited there by Vortex. You find out that she doesn't really get along well with a lot of other hellhounds because she has a history in the past of her drinking and getting out of control, and she doesn't really get along with them. Now, see, This episode has a musical number. It has a really good song, and it's a really good place for a musical number. It fits. It's not just shoved, it's not just there for the sake of it being there, and it's an actual good song. And this musical number is where we meet Beelzebub. And she has probably my favorite character design in the whole show. Like, oh, she's like a four-armed fox with bee wings, and her hair, her tail, and her midsection is like a freaking lava lamp. It's all like got that flowy, goopy, multicolored, constantly changing effect, like the insides of a lava lamp. Oh, it's so cool. But she gets done with her song, and her entire house, by the way, has like a beehive motif through the whole thing with lava lamps. I love it. But we find out that she is Vortex's girlfriend. Bro landed one of the seven sins. Now, he's got it. He's got the it factor if he could land one of the seven sins. The sin of gluttony, Beelzebub. So other than me gushing over Miss B, the queen of gluttony, this episode shows that Luna's finally breaking out of her shell and making friends. She kind of gets overwhelmed with the whole situation. She calls Blitz in tears, asking to go home. Blitz jumps up off of the couch. He rushes over to Luna immediately, like tossing aside everything else. He runs to his daughter and he gets her. Some guys at the party recognize Blitz, and she starts to feel more comfortable because, like, her dad's there. So she asks if they could stay a little bit longer. They stay. He gets into a drinking contest with Beelzebub and wins. And he's getting lost in his emotions. He's drinking too much. Meanwhile, Luna's off. She's making friends. Her shell is cracking. She's making friends. She's learning to lean on Blitz. But Beelzebub comes over and she's like, hey, your dad's not okay. You should probably go check on him. And she gets all defensive. And she's like, I know my dad better than you do. And Beelzebub turns into her like a giant demon form. And she's like, you don't want to fuck with me. And Luna's like, fine. She goes over. She checks on Blitz. Blitz is just like blitzed. Blizz is blitzed. Okay, he's so far gone. She drives him home. And he's lost in his feelings, and he breaks down and admits that everybody leaves him, that he's going to die sad and alone because everyone leaves him. And he asks her if she's going to be there. And she's like, yeah, Dad, I'll be there. And she tucks him in. Episode ends. And that is the end of season 1. And like, I highly recommend the show. There is a lot of episodes that personally, they're there for filler. They just reinforce some of these their characters and their dynamic. I won't even say their arcs, but their dynamics. It becomes more apparent in season 2 that the focus of the show is not on really IMP. Moxie and Millie are more so background characters in my opinion. Even their episodes about their relationship, it's just the same thing on repeat. They have no development, no growth, really no nothing. We find a bit more about Moxie in season 2, but any emotional impact that they could have had in that episode was lost because they played too heavily on the comedy card, and it lost the emotional impact. But season 1 is really just a setup for everything that the show is actually about. And the show is actually about Blitz and his complicated emotions and insecurities around his relationships, his friends, his family, all of it. And it shows, we really start getting to know Stolas more too in season 2. I would give this show, what would be a good rating? I would give this show a 4.3 scarabs. 4.3 scarabs. It's a good show. It really is. There's a lot of things in it that I think could be fixed. Just throwing musical numbers at the wall because you want one is not a good idea. Especially if they're not good songs. I'm sorry, I know that's a personal opinion, but most of the songs in this show are not good songs. Come for me. It's just the truth. Setting up things that seem important but really have absolutely no importance when you could have used literally anything else is irritating. Let's stop doing that. And stop calling an episode the finale when it's not the finale. And let's give certain characters that are supposed to be main characters actual character growth, actual arcs. Let's give them actual character defects, except, like, I'm sorry, having anxiety levels of a chihuahua and never actually showing any kind of anything with that. You have a chance to make these characters 3-dimensional. You can do it. We see it with all the other characters in your show, and you just leave them as 2-dimensional. Let's stop doing this. That would be just fantastic. Yeah. Good show. Give it a try. There will probably be episodes that you want to skip. There will be episodes that you're like, okay, I watched this once. I never have to watch this episode again. There are some really great episodes. But with that, I'm going to end this video. I hope you guys have a good day, good night, good whatever. Yeah. Bye.